Hi, this is Dr. Arun from ADRPLEXUS. Today we are going to see the 5 most common mistakes to avoid in normal PGI exams. Uh, the exam is being held in the winter season. Please be sure there will be a drop in temperature in the nights. Be secured with your winter garments for the exam. To start with, the exam is being conducted in the November month. It is taken by 8,000 to 10,000 doctors. In this, 1,500 doctors will complete the exam on time. So this brings us to the first point, the time management. So an effective time management is the most important key factor for success in PG exams. Each and every doctor is going to read 1,250 choices, which means the 250 questions has to be completed in 3 hours, which means exactly 43 seconds per question. It's just 43 seconds per question. Again, we have a split of those 43 seconds. What is the split? You have 6 seconds for reading each question, 6 seconds for each choice, and 6 seconds for shading. PGI being the OMR based exam, you need 6 seconds for proper shading of the OMR. Got it? So right now, PGI being the most time consuming exam among all postgraduate Indian exams, you should have it in mind, toppers usually complete the exam on time, right? So with this, we are moving on to what is an effective time management. The first 1 hour, which you are going to face, you need to complete 90 questions. The second hour, you need to complete again 90 questions. The next 40 minutes, you have to complete 70 questions. And the last 20 minutes is for the questions which we found very hard while we are going through the paper. So always keep the last 20 minutes as a reserved time for revising the tough questions. So again, how to check whether you are completing the first 1 hour 90 questions is very simple. Do not check at the end of 1 hour. Please have a check whether you are completing in 30 minutes 45 questions. What happens when a question paper is given is consciously you will start answering each and every question. Usually this is the biggest mistake which people do. The first 30 minutes they complete only 15 questions. Please make sure that you complete 45 questions in the first 30 minutes if you want to be a topper in PGI exam. Okay, now coming to the second commonest mistakes which people do in PGI is that it is an OMR based exam. You should know about the basics of OMR shading. Properly shade the OMR. It is no point keeping a dot thinking the machine is going to read it. Never mark it like a tick or anything. The most important thing in an OMR, never ever do any additional markings in an OMR. Next important thing, a biggest mistake in PGI what toppers make, even a topper will make, is that it is called frame shifts. What is this frame shifts? Is that reading question number 5 and shading it in question number 6. After reading properly the question number 5, shading it 6 is a grievous error in PGI. How to avoid this? After reading question number 5, just keep your finger on the OMR on the question. Just wait for 1 second before shading it. Reconfirm whether you have read the question number 5 and shading it on question number 5. Usually the frame shifts happen while you are skipping the questions. For example, the 10th question is a tough question. You are going to skip that question. Now just wait for that 1 second. Hold your nose. I'm skipping 10th question. Now I'm reading the 11th question. I'm going to shade on the 11th question. Just keep your finger. Do not mark anywhere. Just keep your finger on the 11th question, then start shading it. Keep a perfect, complete shading of your OMR, which is a very mandatory thing to crack in your exam. So avoid frame shifts if you want to become a topper. So what happens if a frame shift happens is that naturally you'll try to eliminate that by scratching over the OMR. Please make sure that if you scratch the OMR or you damage the OMR becomes invalid. Hold your nerves. If there is only one frame shift, hold your nerves. It's an exam of 1,250 choices. You can come back. We have interviewed lots of toppers. Most of the toppers, what they would say is that they would have made at least 1 or 2 frame shifts. If you hold your nerves, you will avoid frame shifts. Okay, now coming to the next important thing is going to be when you get the question paper. When you just get the question paper, do not start answering the question paper. Just allot 2 minutes to go through the topics from question number 1 to 250, just the topics. Why? It will open up your subconscious mind. You will have an effective exam performance. This is the most important thing which people don't do it. Since the question paper is given to you, just go through the topics of question number 1 to 250. I'm just repeating it. It is only for 2 minutes. It's no point reading it for 10 minutes. Okay? Read it for 2 minutes. Your subconscious mind becomes active in connecting the dots between the questions. Okay. Now moving on to the most important thing. People who go for PG exams, they don't revise the last 4 papers or the last 4 sessions of PGI. It is mandatory. Just read the question and the answer key. If you are not able to read the explanation, please make it sure at least the last 4 sessions of PGI you have to browse through in the last 4 days before the exam. You can expect 10 to 25 ditto repeat questions and 50 topic based repeat questions. More importantly, why we ask you to revise the questions is that it will help you to complete the PGI paper on time. Okay. Now moving on to the which is the most important subject you have to revise in the last 4 or 5 days. It is going to be your molecular biology from biochemistry. We have seen this is a consistent chapter in PGI, almost 10 questions, which means 50 options, which means it is going to decide the top ranks. Molecular biology is so important in PGI. Now coming to the other subjects, you have the clinical subjects with 164 questions, and the major chunk it is going to be from your surgery and medicine. And more importantly, in surgery they'll give importance to pre-op surgery. Make a note, it is a pre-op surgery plus the GI surgery questions. Okay. Coming to the repeat questions, where are the places where the repeat questions are frequently asked? It is from the skin, anesthesia, radiology, psychiatry, and of course from ENT and ophthalm. So revise at least 3 or 4 papers before moving on to the exam. Okay. Now landing up at Chandigarh from a distant place. It's a new environment with a group of friends. Never ever enter into the group discussion 1 day before the exam. Never look into that as a picnic spot and enter into any group discussion 1 day before the exam. After finishing exam, you can of course check into the departments of PGI or any other hangout places in Chandigarh, but never indulge into group discussions, mandatorily group discussions. Have a good night's sleep. That is a key important criteria for success in PGI. Okay. On the day of the exam, what are the mistakes you shouldn't do on the day of the exam? Of course, you have to go to the venue at the right time. Read the question properly. Read each and every question properly, because almost 100 questions of PGI will have these 3 important keywords: false, except, not. If you are able to read these 3 important words, the clarity in reading these words gets the answers right in a PGI paper. Please make sure that you read these 3 important keywords before looking into the options. This is a mandatory criteria for success in PGI. And one more important thing is that if you have carefully looked into the options of previous papers, you will know that almost 110 options to 125 options are based on the rule of opposites. Okay, I'm not going into the rule of opposites, but if you want, you can pause this video and see what are the opposites which can really matter in PG exams. So there are lots of opposites which will be tested on PGI in options. To start with, absorption, excretion, hypo and hyper combinations like hypokalemia, hyperkalemia, hypopigmentation, hyperpigmentation, bilateral, unilateral, favorable prognostic factors, unfavorable prognostic factors, inducers, inhibitors. I'm just repeating it, but here the last one, recessive and dominant. This is one of the important areas of PGI. There is a definite question based on recessive and dominant. And the other opposites which can really test in this 100 to 130 options is going to be your other options which I'm flashing out. Just make a note of it. Okay. The last set of options: true and false, large and small, macro, micro, macrovesicular, microvesicular fatty deposits, transudate, exudate, reversible, irreversible. Okay. These are the opposites which you need to focus on the day of the exam. Okay. The final suggestions for the day of the exam: do not waste your time searching for any lapses in your test construction. And more importantly, if you have taken any PGI marks, you should know what is the marking scheme in PGI. So do not guess until you have eliminated all the definite wrong responses. Never ever guess in a PGI paper until you have eliminated all the wrong responses. Okay. Now to hit the top 50, we usually say this in our classes: go question by question. No preconceived logics like I have to share 2 questions for this question and 5 for the next, 4 for. No preconceived logics. Treat each question by question. Read the question properly. This makes you a topper. Identify except and double negative questions. There can be some double negative frames in a paper. Please identify it. And the last important thing which makes most of the people a topper is that go back to the difficult and tough questions in the last 20 minutes. This is more important to be a topper in PGI. Okay. The last thing which makes you a topper is that we have interviewed almost hundreds of toppers of PGI. The most important thing what toppers say is that they never cared about their AIMS performance, never cared about their AIMS result. It would be interesting to find most of the AIMS toppers didn't even look into the AIMS ranks before going on to PGI exams. Got it? Even an AIMS topper didn't look into the results of AIMS before moving on to a PGI exams. Please forget seeing or looking into the results of AIMS. Finish your PGI exam, then look into the results. People will divert your concentration, but please make sure that you are not worrying about AIMS results. One important thing what I would recommend is that you go through the interviews of the previous toppers. We have a list of toppers of May 2018 session: Dr. Sujay HS, a wonderful interview, Dr. Jeffrey Samuels, Dr. Divj Agarwal. Please go through the interviews from our website, ADRPLEXUS.com. You have the thing called testimonial. Just click the link. You will be able to read the full entry of Dr. Sujay HS and Dr. Jeffrey Samuels and choose 3 or 4 interviews and look into the interviews. And please note the do's and don'ts recommended by toppers. This will give you an idea how to crack a PGI exam in the last 5 days. Great. So I'm just sharing what are the do's and don'ts recommended by Dr. Sujay HS, who's rank 1 in May 2018 PGI. So all the best guys for November PGI exams. Thank you.